Good afternoon and welcome to Veda Day 22. Today is Earth Day, and I wanted to talk to you about maybe my not so friendly experiences with Mother Nature and her Earth. And that is on the opening day of the Olympics last summer, I was invited to a friend's river house, which was located here in northwestern Alberta. And she had told me that they had installed some motion detector cameras as a result of every time coming back to the house they were seeing some of their solar lights tipped over, and they wanted to see what they were dealing with. Well, of course, as you can imagine, the camera picked up pictures of a black bear and a brown bear. And so we were there a week after these bears had come through the property, and didn't even think much thought of it. I went out on the deck, and the deck just looked back onto the river and this beautiful open property. And we had a beautiful barbecue, and we had some red wine out, and I think I even made sangria. So of course, you throw in a bear's favorite blueberries. It was just a perfect day, and I think you can appreciate where this story is heading. The next morning, we woke up and heard this big clatter, and looked on the deck, and there this black bear was, and he had the barbecue lid open. He was licking the grill of the barbecue, and of course, we were pretty mesmerized. Now, I'm going to show you a picture. This is the picture of the nice little bear that had visited us. It turns out he was a 3-year-old bear, around 300 pounds, they guessed. And so after a couple minutes of watching this, and of course taking the token paparazzi photos, we thought, well, we should probably get this bear off the deck. This is probably not a good thing. And so I went to the window and I yelled. They say bears are afraid of human noises. Not so much, not this bear. He got curious, and so he came a bit closer. He went around the side of the house, and I'm trying to condense a very long story. But he got up on his hind legs right at the back door, and the back door wasn't pushed into the seal very well. So with its 300-pound body weight leaning on the door on its hind legs, it pushed in the door, and it was landed on all fours in the house. And all I remember my friend screaming was, "He's in the house!" And I'm telling you, even as I'm retelling this story, and I've told it probably 50 times since last summer, that fear in me is still there. And it was a one-level house, so we ran to the other side of the house into what the owners had made into a bedroom, and the reason we hid in there was 2 exits to the outdoors, so at least we knew that if the bear came further down into the house that we could escape outside. Of course, running in the back of our mind that the week before we knew that the camera had picked up 2 bears. And so it was probably the longest 5 minutes of my life as we were troubleshooting what it was that we could do when we were just outside of the kitchen. So ultimately I knew that the bear was wanting food, and not necessarily us, but we would be food for the bear no matter what. And so we ran through. We couldn't call 911 or anyone to come help us because they were so remote where they live that the signal cable had to be by the jump box in order to get a signal out. You can't really outrun a bear. Should we run down to the river? Then what? Now we're literally up the creek with no paddles. Our shoes, our keys, everything was at the back door in which the bear entered the house. And so probably what felt like eternity, we heard some really loud noises on the outside of the house, and there the same bear was. And now he was playing on the kayak trying to come into the door where we were hiding. So of course we run out of our spot and we go close the door where the bear was, where the bear had come in the house, which again, it wasn't sealed. It's not like it burst through the door, and called 911. So thank goodness for 911. It was about an hour and 15 minutes later by the time that they got to us because the house was so remote. And of course the bear was gone. So the police officer helped us move the barbecue into the shed, which was one of the reasons why we knew the bear was so interested in coming back habitually to this property. And he said, well, I haven't seen him, so you live remote, you should learn how to fire a gun. And I know my American friends are probably not going to believe this, listening to this, but I don't even know how to load, shoot, or fire a gun. So I was rendered pretty useless in this situation, even if we had that kind of protection. And so we had called the Canadian Fish and Wildlife, or the conservation officers, to come set up a bear trap as this animal had been in the house. My friend has kids. Obviously, those are not a good combination. And so they were going to come out with a bear trap and try to trap this bear, but we had to wait because of where they lived. We needed to let them onto the property. And my friend had said to me, of course, go ahead, I know you need to get somewhere. And I thought, like, never in a million years, if you were with me in that situation, would I let you go anywhere. So I said, no, I'm going to stay with you to the end of it, full on knowing that the bear would be back. It was just really a matter of time because clearly this house was on its route. And so we were packing up our stuff, emptying out the food into coolers, etc., ready to head back to the city. And I remember having to lie down in the living room just trying to be able to breathe, because the amount of pressure, if you've ever had a panic attack or any chest pain, this was like nothing I ever experienced, and I was just trying to actually relax and get back to normal breathing after really having the most fearful event of my life unfold. And all of a sudden I heard the very distinctive thud, thud, thud on the deck, and so we ran to that side of the house and we looked out, and sure enough, the same bear is back, and now he's really aggravated because the barbecue's gone, his source of food is gone, and he's really smart. So he's up against the windows, pawing on the windows, and all we can see is, you know, his big claws, and his snout is leaving all sorts of crazy markings on the window. And we have now made sure that the door that he first gained access through was really closed, and unless he broke the window, which of course he could, we were at least somewhat delayed and had a bit of safety in the house. So back on the phone we get to 911. They know us by now, so they dispatch the same officer who's a little closer, but still we know that's not an immediate solution. And fast forward a very long story, the conservation officer beat the police officer to the property, and a little game of cat and mouse ensued as the bear and the officer kind of were at different areas of the house, and ultimately it ended poorly for the bear. And I can tell you the feeling of wrongly maybe, but satisfaction of watching this whole ordeal that probably unfolded for a time period of 3 hours. And it was definitely the most traumatic and scary thing that I've ever lived through with Mother Nature. So on a day like today, Earth Day, that is the story that I wanted to recount for you and recall for you. So as we gear up for the summer season, I'm not all that excited to get out and get camping because of my fear of seeing something like this again. And leave me your thoughts or comments. It was a crazy experience. I'm just curious whether you've had any interesting run-ins with Mother Nature yourself. And we'll talk to you later. Take care.